Hi, greetings from SolidCAM. In this video series, we'll show how to define one setup sheet template from scratch using a real-life data that is provided to us from the customer. So, let's take a look first at what we have from the customer. I'll open up one local folder which I've created for this purpose. Here, I will store my template which I will be defining, and this will be my local folder from which I will be defining my template. So let's open up this example sheet that we have from the customer. Okay, at the first side here, we can see that this template is consisted of few sections. So the general one here, tool section, operations, and setups. In this video, we'll be starting off with the general section and defining this section. I'll keep this setup sheet opened here, this example, since I'll be jumping up from the template definition inside here to see which informations we need to print out. So let's go and minimize it and go back to SolidCAM. So before starting the definition of each template for setup sheet, you need to create a DXML file which you will use for test runs. So what is the DXML file? It's the file that is generated when you generate a setup sheet. So it's being created inside a temporary folder or inside the CAM part folder to be exact. So it's created there and it contains all the data that SolidCAM provides for the setup sheet add-in. So we'll need to create one DXML file, and I will do it only for this red operations because I marked them and I will use them. Because if I use all of these operations, the XML file will be large, and we need our test runs to be quick. And if we have too many operations, it can take time and it can be time consuming. So for this purpose, we'll just use these few operations, okay? And let's generate a setup sheet for them. Let's go back inside the template and see if the customer wants a logo. So yes, they want some company logo. So let's minimize it and put some random picture so we can have it when we run the test run. Okay, so here let's go browse, and I will paste one location. Here I have some company logo images, and I'll put, for example, this one. Open up and generate a setup sheet for this default template. While generating, let me explain the workflow which we will do now. So when the doc folder, which contains the XML file in temporary, is created, we'll need to copy that folder. Copy it to a local folder where we are working and defining our template. So once we do that, we need to load that DXML file in our template definition. So let's see now, our setup sheet is being finalized and the doc folder is being created. So, okay, we can now go to temporary folder of SolidCAM and find out what we need from there. Okay, so let's open up a temporary, and my part is called demo. I'll open it up, and here is the doc folder. Inside there is a DXML file. So I will go and I will copy this folder to my local location, okay, here, and I will go and hit paste. So now we have our doc folder inside local folder, and we can begin with our template definition. So let's minimize this temporary folder and close this example. So now we can begin with the definition of the setup sheet template. What we need to do is to start the setup sheet add-in by going to the install folder of SolidCAM. So let me just open up that folder. Okay, here it is. So install folder of SolidCAM, XML doc folder, SolidCAM setup sheet. Here I'll run this setup sheet exe app, and the add-in will be opened inside the Excel. Okay. Now let's go and define a new workbook, and go to SolidCAM Setup Sheet tab and start a new template definition. Now it is asking us, are we sure that we want to convert this book into a setup sheet template? Yes, it's been successfully converted. All right. And now we need to save it. I will save it in my local folder here. Okay, so copy this, this path and paste it here. Let's hit enter and name our setup sheet to be, for example, setup sheet SolidCAM, and let's say template. You can name your setup sheet whatever you want. So go and click save. And now it's saving our template. All right, so next thing we need to do, open up our 3 tabs here for template definition. So let's open first template options. Here we have some basic options such as use page layout for test run. I like it. I will show you what it does. So when we do a first test run, also grid lines on the test result. Output settings, this depends on the customer preferences. So maybe our customer doesn't want his final workbook to be created inside temporary folder. Maybe he wants some other folder. So we can specify here by clicking on these 3 dots, and in between quotations, you can specify the location where you want to output his setup sheet, for example. The default name doesn't need to be doc, okay? It can be anything you want. So the default name for the final workbook. Final document file type can be, for example, can be XLSX, or it can be also PDF file. So this option is to use a save as dialog box when the generating process of setup sheet at the end is done. So it can ask you, you can save as wherever, on whichever location you want. So I'll keep this as false. Also, you can also have an option to not open up the final document when the generating process is done. You can go put true or false, doesn't even matter. And here, if you want to use the Mac pictures. Okay, now let's go and skip this step because this is more of like agreement between the customer and you, how you want his template or how he wants his template to work. So let's close this up. What's important for us is this source data tab. So we need to load our DXML file. So I'll go back to my local location here, copy this path, go back here, and here I will paste it before the DXML file like this. Now let's try this. Source data file is not found. Why? It's because I intentionally made a mistake here. So let's go back to our folder. Why I didn't find it? Because I specified the location D setup sheet template and then DXML. Here inside this location there is no DXML file, but here inside this one there will be. So let's go now and put again this. Read source data. Source data read successfully. When it's read, you can now see all of these, let's say, indexes that are loaded. So here we see tool 1 of 5. So we have 5 tools in our DXML file that are outputted. There is another way. You don't need to paste the location here. You can go also on these 3 dots and specify a file through this browse dialog. So have 2 ways of doing that. And next thing to do is to open up a setup sheet manager. So now we need to specify this sheet's purpose. So we want this sheet to be our design, not the user data container. We'll be explaining what this means also, but we want it to be setup sheet template design. If you use it as a user data container, then you create inside that sheet, you create your user variables, which you can also use inside this setup sheet design template. Now, let's go and expand this window a bit. So if you expand it enough, you will see that the options for each, let's say, section here go on the right side. So let's expand them now here. And now, let's start with the definition. My preferences for the template definition is that I always use small column width because it's probably easier to merge cells than to split them. So we have here to split a column, but that can create problems later on in template definition. So it's always easier to merge cells than to split them. So I will do this and go and set the column width for all columns to be, for example, let's go I use 1.29 or 1.30. It doesn't matter. So I've typed here, not point, but comma. So 1.29, okay. And for the row height, I will use, let's say, 12.5, okay, to make a square, let's say. Now, next thing I will do is use this show page breaks. So I know where my limits are, not to break them. So if I go and input something here, it will go off the A4 format. And we saw that customer template is on A4 format. So we need to respect the margins. And now here, we can begin with the template definition. So let's go back inside the template and see what we'll define first. Let's define first this header, for example. So I will now go back to setup sheet template and start definition. So right click on worksheet template and we'll add a new page. We'll call this page like maybe general, or let's call it template page 1. And let's go and add one section, new section. And this section will call, for example, header. Okay. So now our header has a section purpose of user defined or 0. This means that it will not repeat itself. So let's go and open up this. Here you can see it can be, the section purpose can be main data, tool data, operation data. If you use tool data, it will be repeated as many times as there are tools. So here we have 5 tools and our header would be repeated 5 times. But if you use user defined, then all the indexes are set to default to 1 and this section is not repeated and only will be printed once inside the template. So let's go and do the more fun part and design something. So let's go back to remind ourselves how it looks like. So we have this tool setup sheet, okay, and then company logo. So let's go back. It's in half, for example. Let's go like this. Put it up to somewhere, like here maybe, or even here. Okay, and let's use like this, go merge. And also let's use this and go merge. Okay, maybe we missed it, so can do it like this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this seems like it's in half, so okay, merge. So for the header, we need to print out here tool setup sheet. So tool setup sheet, okay. And here they want their company logo. So let's go and define the format for these two. We want them to be like this, to be aligned, okay. And this we can go and do some font. It needs to be bold, if I remember correctly, and a bit bigger font, so tool setup sheet. And here they want the company logo. So how to do that? How to input the company logo? You can go here, have this search box. So you can go and input, for example, logo. And here, see the visual representation of a picture is like this, okay? And let's expand a bit to see the value preview. So this is, let's say, a label, which will print out logo. We don't need that. We only need a picture. So you can go right click on this, copy formula to clipboard, okay? And paste it right here, okay? And just hit enter. So here it is, okay? We have something defined, for example. And now let's go and hit save. Now let's go back here and define a range for our section. So here you can find this field called range, and let's define this as our header, okay? And hit OK. Now once you've done that and you have your DXML file loaded, you can go and run your first full test. So run it, and this is your current output. So let's go back and see what is missing. So we need these borders, for example. Let's go back to our template definition, okay, and fix that. So here, have another sheet that's been generated for result when you do the test run. Here, you have your design. So I will rename this so it is more user-friendly, and I will call it design. And this one I will call result, okay? And let's go and put some borders. So format cells and put a border here and put a border here, and maybe use some thicker, or no, let's go use this one. And let's go and run another time a full test. So this is how it looks currently. Next, let's go back to design. Next, let's begin designing this, all right? So we have a part name, multi-sided machining, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have this 10 fields, so which we need to output. So let's go back to our template definition and start defining it. So let's go do this, maybe here, go, okay, and go here, okay, and we need 10 times this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, okay, and we don't need borders here, so I will put no border, but then I will lose here border. So I will go back here and put a bottom border, okay? And here we need one big section, let's say for our picture. So let's go and merge it. So this looks like that pretty much, okay? Similar. You can't always make it same, but still you can make it very similar as the customers. So let's go and create another section. Well, also we can use this header and expand the range, but it's up to you how you want to define your template. So you can go and define a new section, for example, and call it, I don't know, let's go and call it something like general data, okay, general data, and section purpose is still user defined, but the range now, the range here would be this. When you're defining ranges, you can always check them if they are correct by double clicking on a section, and it will mark the section. So double click on general data is this one. Also, you don't need to use here this button to do the range. You can go right click, define range, and use it. Okay, so now we need to input the data here. Okay, so let's go back. Here we have part name, okay, first, and let's go back. We need a part name. So what I will do, I know my part is called demo, if you remember from my SolidCAM. So you can go and use this filter option. and go and I can search for values. So value preview, check. And then the next thing I need to do is to load all the values from the DXML file by updating all values preview. So now here, if you take a look, you see that we have now indexes. Okay. If I close this, so tool, you can see all the data for each tool. Tool 1, index 1. Tool 3, index 3. Okay. So now we need to search for name demo. Okay. Demo is our part name. So I'll go copy formula to clipboard and put it here. Since this is the name, I'm outputting the value of the variable. And here it is, demo. Now I need a label or the name of this cell, which is, for example, CAM part name or part name. So what you can do is use strings or labels from the XML file. Whatever you want. Strings contain more strings coming from SolidCAM than the labels that are coming from the XML file. So for part name, if I search part name, I have also a label which is called CAM part name. I can copy it to clipboard and paste it here. So it will say CAM part name, but it will have this formula. So this means why I'm not inputting CAM part name like, like this, CAM part name, because if I do this, this is a hard-coded text. This will not be translated depending on SolidCAM version. This one will be translated depending on SolidCAM version. I can also go and search inside the strings like CAM part name and use this one also, where I will copy the XLL formula and paste it here. So there are 3 ways of defining. You can use the formula, you can use the CAM part name, and you can use the strings. The only difference is that these formulas that come from the XML file, there is probably much less of these than from the strings. So I would recommend using the strings, and here let's go and delete everything, and I would use this one. So copy XLL and I will paste it here. Now maybe customer doesn't have a 5-axis module, for example, and you are using some string that comes from SolidCAM from 5-axis module which wasn't bought. So then maybe his string will not be outputted. In order to, let's say, to overcome this, you can go and embed the string that you use, embed it to your template. So it will come with the template. It will not depend whether the customer has some module or not. So you can go and add a copy to internal strings. So now this formula is coming with the template, okay? Now let's continue in the same manner and define all the rest. So next I will need, let's go and see, programmed by. Let's go and type this manually to see the difference. Programmed by, okay? Here we can say, I know it's a user, so you can find user and maybe not. Let's go and expand this. Here it is, username. So copy formula, paste it. Let's go next one. So program number, machine name. So program number, it's easy. You can go and search for number, okay, and find it. Part program number, copy formula, paste it here, and can go and search here, for example, and find program number, copy to internal strings, and then use this here, okay. Next up is a machine name. So that one is called CNC controller. So you can go and copy formula, paste it. Oops, my mistake. So I can paste it here and go to strings, CNC controller, and you can go add copy to internal strings. Okay, copy and paste. So here we see a difference. So customer would like to be written like machine name, okay? But do we have that inside our strings? Let's search for machine name. So we don't have machine name, but we have something similar, probably coming from SolidCAM, which can be translated. And you can use probably something, here it is, machine. So you can go and add it to internal strings. I've used here CNC controller. It's a bit different. So it's like agreement between you and the customer, what you can do and what customer wants. Usually all the customers are asking, okay, I don't need my template to be translated to each language. I will not be changing language, which is okay for the user. So you can go just and input machine, and that's fine for the customer. Or if you have it, I always recommend using a string. So let's go and fill up all the data. So part units and material. Part units, let's go and search here for units. So let's go and use units, add copy, and we need material. So material, we can use, for example, work material. Okay, and let's put it units here. And let's put work material here. Now let's go here inside the CAM part data to get the values. So for work material, since we already searched it, we can find part material name, copy it. Sorry, my mistake, copy. Work material, paste. And let's search for units. I will copy it and go here and, oops, not here, my mistake. Let's go and delete this, paste it here. Okay, next up, number of operations and date created. So let's go and input number of operations. Is it like this? No. Number of okay, of operations. And let's go and find it. Since I know how it is called, I can go just and type count. So it's basically this operations count. I can go and copy it to clipboard and paste. So if you don't know, this comes with the experience to know which variable to use inside the template. So with many templates that you go through and do yourself, you will start to know the variables, what they do and how to search them. So it can take a time, if you don't know, it can take a time to go through all and search, but that is why you can always search for the value. So if you know it has 6 operations and you have here activated the value preview, you can go and search for number 6, and then here you see operation count 6. So there is a way to make your life easier if you are new to all this. So next thing after the operations is date created. Okay, let's go and input some date created. Let's go copy, paste here. Okay, Friday, October. So today. Then we need a date. Let's go and copy to internal strings, for example. So I'm mixing up something I am doing, like I'm inputting, okay? Something I'm doing from the strings. So paste. So we have a date. This seems like a mistake from the customer, so we'll fix it. So it's not demachining time, probably it's machining time. Okay, so let's go and find time. So we have part total time, copy it, paste it here. And let's go and input here manually machining time. And at the end, we have some notes. Probably this is part notes, but still you can always ask customer and see what he wanted with this field. if you don't understand it, we'll put it to be part notes. So notes, here is part notes. So there is no value for it because we didn't input anything. I can show you where you can input part notes. And let's go and put this part notes header here. So mix up all the ways of doing this. So let's go and inside the template, it seems like it's a smaller font. Everything is aligned on the left. So let's do that. So select everything. Let's align it in the middle by the height and on the left inside the cells. And we said that it's a smaller font, a bit smaller. Let's go like 10. Yeah, this looks more like it. At the end, we need main part image to put here. So let's find it. You can go and search for image. And here you have main part image inside the general data. You can go copy it to clipboard, paste it. And now let's leave it here. Let's leave it, for example, here. So we have our section defined and we can run test run. Let's see what we get if we leave this aligned on the bottom. So run full test. And you see how our picture is aligned on the bottom of this field. So let's go and fix this. It should be in the center. So design and format cells. Okay, alignment, put it on the center by vertical and by horizontal, or maybe let's put it to be distributed. Okay, let's see how it looks like now if we go and run a full test. Okay, this seems a bit better. Okay, then next, I think we're missing some borders. So we have only the bottom one and the one here. So let's go and do that. So for all of this, we need a bottom border. And for this, we need a left border. So this seems like a good definition. Let's run a full test. And yep, this looks good. Now I promised to show you this template options, this page layout view. So if I go and put this to false and I do a run full test, you will see that now I don't have page layout view here. Let's go and close it. See, it's the view without the pages. Remember this. And now let's go and bring back the true, okay? And run a full test. Close this. Now I have page layout view, okay? This is page 1. If I go down, there will be page 2, and this is a page layout view for the result tab. Same thing applies with the grid lines. Do we want to see them or not inside our result tab? And one more thing, to see that this general section has a footer, which is like a empty line. So let's go and define that. So our general data needs to have a footer. So you can go and set it as true and go and mark your area, which is for footer. So I will use this line and go okay. Now, in order to see something, I will input here, I don't know, I will input something to see if it's working. So let's go and put SolidCAM, okay, and run a full test. So our footer is successfully outputted here, and we can go and now delete this. This was just for testing and unmerged. So with this, we've finished, let's go and save. We finished up defining the general section, and next up would be to define the tool section.